I think the concern was the operation. Proceed, Honorable Malata.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair. And I also want to check. I think Dr. Mashego was saying that there was this report which they only saw it on the social media, and they were alerted by Buwada. I'm just asking myself, when all this happens, when there's the report, you saw it on social media and so forth, where was the CEO? Where was the CEO? Because the only thing I can hear, Chairperson, it's only the board. I think the board, they are working with the CEO. And some of the things, some of the issues, CEO who's there from Monday to Friday, 7 to 4 or 8 to 5, supposed to be on top of the issues. And the CEO is supposed to assist the board with the day-to-day running of estates. But it's quiet. Nothing has been said. I'm getting worried that he or she is not assisting the process. And then the issue of the report, this redacted executive summary report. How do we end up finding ourselves having to dissolve the board minister with the report? Is it not possible somewhere around to I don't know, every time we'll be saying Poppy Act, we are afraid to take out the report because we'll be talking about the Poppy Act. Is there any way that the report someone can go through the report? It's fine even if we are not being given the report, but for people who are supposed to know the report, the board, to go through the whole report, then the judgment can be made after going through the whole report. After reading this report, Minister, you know what came to my mind, and it's not for the first time. Now I'm starting to go through each and every issues that transpired in the department. I'm really worried that someone in the department is misadvising you. I am really worried. There are many instances where I can be able to quote them that on this day this happened, on this day this happened, and when you go through those, you have officials that are reporting to you, that are running the department day in, day out, who's supposed to make you aware of the issues. If you are my principal, I need to be open to you, even if how bad is the issue, so that you can be able to know what are you dealing with, which kind of an animal are you dealing with in this. But I'm getting worried that some of the issues, when you read the report and you compare, I just ask myself, who's advising the minister? Who is advising the minister? Because some of the issues, it means someone in the department who is responsible for a certain item needs to be on top of the issues. Two, I don't think minister can just, from the previous minister finding that the report was already there, the investigation was already been done, as the minister has just presented that he was acting on what he found in the office. It's not something that he decided out of her own to say, I'm going to start with the forensic audit. The officials, they were supposed to explain all these things, that here are the dates. Things were happening from these dates up until this date, and the board has arrived on this date, finding that all these things have been done. And the other question, did the board receive sufficient information to prepare to prepare for the meaningful responses. That redacted executive summary report, I just wonder if it was being given as it is to the board to go through it, the board, were we going to find ourselves in this situation, Chairperson, where we find that the board has been dissolved or it's going to be dissolved? I'm not sure whether it has been dissolved or it's going to be. Presently now I'm drunk more than before, because I don't know where we are standing. And Chair, this issue of saying that the current board members were not interviewed, how do you conclude with the report before you can hear the other side of the story? There is two sides there is two sides on a coin. In location, we'll say it's a head and a tail. And my worry is that the board here said that we have not been interviewed. How do you conclude on the report without getting information on the other side? We are sitting here, we are going to question each other, but the main culprit who was supposed to be here to assist us is the person who was dealing with the report from the onset. Because really, I cannot start to accuse that minister is wrong on this side, the board is wrong on this side, whereas one person has been interviewed and then the other has not been interviewed. How do we conclude with the report before we can even interview the whole people who were supposed to be interviewed? It's a very difficult chairperson. Lastly, I just want to check, since this current board, the board that was appointed in 2022, when was your last when was the last date for board to finish? When was it? Was it going to be a 5-year? 2027, it's a 5-year term. And Chair, all that the board has did from the day they ascend the office regarding all finding that there was a problem with a WADA and so forth, till up to now, according to me, they did a work that I will say you worked for us not to be able to raise our flag in an international games. It's a big disappointment. For us not to be able to host any international game, it was going to be a big disappointment. I think I will pause there, Chair. Thank you.
You want responses now or later on, Honorable Molatani? Honorable Molatani, you want responses now or later on? Any response? Minister, there was a direct question to you as well.
Yes. I think we must just say words are important. We didn't send a summary. We sent every allegation related to the esteemed board to them. So that's not a summary. Every allegation pertaining to them, and they were given a chance to respond. What we didn't send them, didn't mention them, and had nothing to do with their names. So we sent every allegation pertaining to them. I just wanted to clear that, the first issue. First question that you have. I don't know if somebody from DSEC wants to add something else.
Can I please just add? Chair, in the presentation that was done by Wafika, and I think that is what also Honorable Mulatsane is actually talking to in terms of the processes, etc., that were followed. Some of those particular details were refuted by the officials that they did mention that they were working with. We couldn't bring those people here into this meeting because they are implicated, and those are the ones that Minister was saying, or maybe he didn't say that. Those are the ones where consequence management has then been initiated. The two officials that still remain in the department, the other one retired at the end of May before the report was issued. So those particular things, because they are not here, we cannot be able to then go into the detail of saying these are the areas that they refuted, but they did. I'm aware that some of the things they were refuting, including the version that went to the Office of the State Law Advisor and all those things. The basis on which the action has now been taken is the report, the Ngidi Business Advisory, I think it's called, report that actually the chairperson is saying it was done by the accountants. That's the report that based on which these actions are being taken against the officials of the department, but also against SAIDS, because it's not just the board, it's SAIDS as well. In terms of the recommendations that are contained in that particular report. I just wanted to add that, Chair.
Dr. Khumalo, are you saying that the redacted report that is submitted to the portfolio committee is different from the one that is submitted to SAIDS? It looks like
No,
that.
Chair. I'm talking about the version that Wafika was talking. I'm not talking about the investigation reports. I'm talking about the version of the legislation, the piece of legislation that went to the OCLA. That's what I was talking about, where some of the things that Wafika just said were refuted by the officials that were working with SAIDS. But they are not here to then defend themselves because we couldn't bring them here because they are implicated and there's consequence management against them.
Response for Fika.
I can respond. I do not know what is being refuted because that is redacted out of the report. And we refer it to as summary report because that's the heading on the document that was issued to us. It actually says summary. So if something says it's a summary of a larger document. But if that is the document in itself, then we can accept that then as the document. But it was not brought to our attention that if someone issues you with a summary report, you are under the impression there is a longer report. With regards to, I have prepared a full lever arch file of documentation and emails. I can assume maybe with one of the items that was refuted, for instance, these versions from Oxler to DSAC directly to Parliament without passing. I can read you an email which I have here in front of me, printed 26 September 2023. Dear, I'm not sure if I should
hold on to that. We will get to the bottom of this. Dr. Khumalo, is there any reasons why the forensic report was not made known?
We're talking about two things here, Minister. I'm talking about the legislation amendment that was done and submitted to the Office of the State Law Advisor. I'm not talking about the report. I think Minister did respond to the issue of the report, and I saw him switching it on, and I think that's what he wanted. So what I was talking to was the issue of the legislation that was said to be a wrong version that was sent to Parliament. That's what I was talking about, not the investigation report. I think Minister wanted to speak to that.
Understand.
I just want to say it's not only the POPI Act that prevented us. It was the fact that there are other implicated people that needed their own chance to respond, that are implicated in the response. I mean, there's just labor law practice and procedural fairness. So it's not just only the POPI Act. If there's some people that's in the report, their names are in the report, and they see for the first time, or they see their names in public. So we have to protect people and say, just as much that we would not give them the information about the people in the department, we would not give them the information about the members of the SAIDS board. So I just want to say it's not only the POPI Act, Chair, But, you know, Chair, sitting here, we're going to be talking up and down about this report. I think from DSEC side, we must take the committee in our confidence and give you that report by virtue of the position that you hold and what you've sworn in Parliament to do.
Minister, thank you for that. But why we were not taken into trust before? Even to an extent where we as committee members can sign an NDA, non-disclosure agreement. We are happy to do that. We would like the minister, the executive, to take us into confidence where we can sit around the table and discuss these. I think that is important for us. So I would be happy if we end this meeting today here, that this committee will be in possession in that report, sign a non-disclosure agreement, go through this report, and then we will be able to make an informed decisions. At the end of the day, this is an issue of national interest. It is out there in the public domain, and that is a result why we are here today. We have a former minister of higher education that has been given the marching orders because of this. We have the Minister of Tourism, Patricia de Lille, that's facing the same scenario here today. So we, in our attempt here, as members of this Parliament, we want to prevent that. And I can see that you are certain that once we peruse that, we can make informed decisions. And then there was also no need, perhaps, to have a meeting of this nature and let the process unfold. Because what to me is very worrisome is that there's an act against an entity and its members, but not DSEC. We have on several occasions engaged with the director, Kumalo, pertaining to disciplines and what was the reason. What we are discussing here today, I haven't heard or seen any of those extensive documents where members of the Department, Sports, Arts and Culture has been investigated due to a SAIDS-related, I always want to say guilt or whatever the case may be. So I think, members, we are busy having a direction now. And we also have the undertaking from the minister that that report will be shared with the members. But members, you wanted to follow up, and then I'm going to ask Honorable Mtetwa. Yes.
Thank you very much, Chair. Let me just make my last follow-up to the minister. I think this board minister, it's my opinion that they've performed to their best of their ability, especially on saving the South Africans, where we're supposed to perform, where we're supposed to stand in a podium, having the flag of the country in our hand. I just want to check with the minister. What happened? Why did minister act so harsh to dissolve the board, even though they have done so much work? And we have other board. We have other entities where the boards are already where the board member, they are already misusing the funds of the entity, and it's a known thing, something that we all know, and minister did not act harshly or on those one. You know, I was expecting that we'll be sitting here, they'll be coming back to say that minister said, no, I'm dissolving this board because of mismanagement of funds, that we all know that someone take the money to go and do something that is not related to sports. That's my last question, Chairperson. Thank you very much.
you, Minister.
Yeah. Chairperson, thank you through you. I think we should go with the full report. The reason why I'm saying that, this is a very dangerous area where ministers can change recommendations after ministers has instituted an investigation. I didn't act harshly. I just followed what's expected of every minister. So I want to clear that one, that I acted. It brings me back to what doctor said. He said he doesn't know why, is it maybe, did I target them? And I just feel there's just three things I have to answer here, Chair, by what my learned friend has said here. Firstly, it's not only the board that has been implicated, it's also members of DSEC. But something was said here that I just think I will not sleep well if I don't address that. That was said right here, and that's just not me. The doc said, and I'm gonna, because I expect other ministers must come up for me when I'm no longer here. So I'm not gonna let him get away with his statement, because he act like the professional, he act like the professional that knows who knows what they're talking about and who has experience. Number one, there's 4 things he said here, which I cannot walk out of this room not addressing. He mentions 3 ministers that knew what this portfolio was about or what SAITS was about. Now I want to come up for the previous ministers. I will never stand for that. That you can cast aspersions on people in their absence and say that these 3 knew what they were doing. They were the only ones that had an acute. He's been there for 20 years, as his own words. That's not good governance. That's not good governance to be on a board more than 2 terms. Secondly, aspersions are being cast on the state advisor, chief law state advisor, and they don't have a chance to come here and protect themselves. That is an entity of the state. That is the heart of the state. Thirdly, in Gidi, I don't know the company. I've read the profile right here, but they are a black company that he just makes out like it's some backroom company to say it was a chartered accountant there, and he casts aspersions on Ngidi. This is a company of professionals, and he makes them out as they got one advocate. The previous board, blame the previous minister. Now, Chair, with all due respect, he even decided which chairperson of the portfolio committee was a legend, implicating maybe the others were not legends. Because he is...
I hope that did not include me, Minister.
He didn't include you as a legend, I'm sorry to say that. Now, where I'm sitting, the only praise that my little friend had here was for the London lawyers. Those ones know what they're doing. That's the only praise he had. Now, I would expect whoever comes after me, if somebody casts aspersions, because did he interview them to know that Natim Tetwa, Zizi Kodwa, Deputy President Paul Mashatile, Secretary General of the ANC, Fikile Mbalula, and were not, according to him, up to that standard of the 3 that he mentioned. I have to just come up and say, we must not cast aspersions on people until you've interviewed them on a particular subject to understand do they know that subject. Then in conclusion, Chair, everybody, the state law advisor, the previous board, the DSEC, the current minister, we are all wrong. I write, for instance, that 1.5 million was spent. They said it's not 1.5 million. But they're not telling us how much was spent.
1,000, 1 million, 1.
Can't be 1,000 rands.
1 million, 1,000.
Oh, 1 million, 1,000. Now, if you spend 1 million and 1.5 million, fruitless, wasteful expenditures, still the same, in my opinion. So I will propose, Honorable Moletani says, no, maybe the people of the department has advised me incorrectly. No, they didn't.
Indeed.
I can read. They said to me,
the letter that they wrote to me and to the speaker, I agree with her.
no, Chair.
But let's do this, Minister.
Can I say my last sentence, Chair?
Okay.
I think there's miscommunication where we will talk with the department and the portfolio committee on that letter, because I think there was a total miss, which I don't want to mention the stuff here, but I will gladly do that with the committee and the department present. But here's my last point. I will never be. You talk about ministers that has been removed. I will resign. Then not going with if I'm expected not to go with the recommendations of a reputable firm that money has been spent. So I still stand by the advice that has been given that you should, this is the action you should take. I like the board, but this is not about who I like. It's about the recommendations by, imagine if every minister can say, I don't like this recommendation. No, this one is not fine. I like this one. We will soon be a banana state. Thank you very much, Chair.
The procedure now will be as follows. Members, in terms of what has been presented, will be given the opportunity to ask the questions. But I also want to be fair towards the board and the former board to also respond. I almost want to use the word defend themselves of what has been said. Let me give members the chance to ask their questions based on what was presented, and we get responses. Then we can go into a rebuttal on they say, we say, and so forth. The Honourable Mtetwa.
Chair. I was part of the process in the 6th admin. And the final comment by the minister and everybody who was there, when we finished the work, we were commended to have done very well. With the very same board that has been dissolved, we were commended to have done very well. Minister, I told you some time ago, that your staff members are going to throw you under the bus, and I'm telling you now that you have been thrown under the bus. There's only one reason you can not give people information. Access to information is a constitutional right. And the only time you cannot do that is when you have a court order that says you cannot. If I am implicated in something that disturbs my life and I have to defend myself, the law allows me to have access to information. Okay. Now, I think the question, who is advising you, it is a very important question that you must take it serious. Not for me, but for yourself. Living here, live with that conscience that says, who is advising me? It's very encouraging to see that you are so willing to go an extra mile and dissolve a board for 1.5. When you have Downtown Studios that has wasted 90 million. When you have the CIFSAS that has a forensic report that you did not act on, the big report that you found at the department. You said you are instigating another forensic report, forensic investigation on CIFSA. You've spoken openly that there are thugs, they're corrupt, but you haven't acted upon them. But this board, that in its response, every line, they say paragraph 1. And you ignored their response. From paragraph 1, they say, the current board's term of office started 1 December 2022. They reported the matter 7 November 2022 to the department. I suppose it's the previous board, reported the matter to the department 7 November 2022. I deliberately said 7 November 2022 because I wanted to highlight that the department knew there was a situation. And they're correct, they're not lawmakers. And the process was indeed, it took 7 months before the department could act. The very same DG that you have today was acting in that department. We were working with her. All the members of the department, we were working with them. Yes, the Department of Sports and Arts and Culture were merged, but there was an acting DG, constantly an acting DG there in the place. That's why we are saying, who is advising you? It is very important. 2 June, that's when the department started working. And we spent days, even weekends, trying to fast-track this because it was an important issue that we did. And Minister Zizikodwa didn't see any reason to dissolve this board. Because he felt that you are actually saying, yeah, no, Zizikodwa didn't do his duties, his fiduciary duties. You are quick at dissolving the board, but you haven't acted upon the staff members. You are even scared to say that their names will be known and what. I don't understand. This is exactly what is happening at Sambro. The forensic report, what is it for? It is to find out what really happened. So the people who have committed crime or who have erred, they must know what they did. How would they know that these particular individuals, whatever that Dr. Kumalo is saying that the others refuted, what did they refute? They don't know. They don't have access to that information. So how are they going to respond? You have erred. Minister, you have erred in this one. Let me come to the board. I hope, I see you are doctors. I hope it's not honorary doctors. Is it medical doctors or academic? Right. To be a doctor is not a simple thing. These members now, their image has been tarnished. Because you didn't care about their image, you didn't care about their value. But you care so much about the 2 individuals that are in the department that you even protect their identity. But you don't have any problem with these ones that are sitting here in front of us who their image has been tarnished. You have gone further to call for nominations before you exhaust this matter. That's how irrational you have gone. He's right to say you have acted very irrational, because what if this matter, it is reversed? What are you going to do with the ones that you have already nominated? What are you going to say? You have just caused something else. It's the first time I hear of something like this. And your appetite to dissolve this board so quickly, so hurriedly, it makes me wonder. I wonder who is in that list of the nominated ones now, who are ready to come and become a board before the matter has been exhausted. I want to ask these following questions. Having said that, I'm really disheartened. I'm really disheartened because you responded to me one day. You said, I want to resolve my issues, the past issues that I couldn't resolve. And today it is exactly the issues that I've been raising that this department has never addressed. You have suspended funding for CIFSA, you have suspended funding for downtown. But when the chairperson asks, where are the forensic reports that you said you are going to investigate? Suddenly now, no, there's no such. I'm not investigating. The Athletic SA, there's no forensic investigation that is happening. Here are the people. Oh, you can't do that.
No, but you are wrong.
You can't do that. You will have your chance to respond.
But you're making accusation of something I never said.
Yes, you will
When did I say there's no investigation
Please.
of ASA? When did I say there's no investigation of
Can I be
SIFA?
protected, Chair? You will respond.
I'll give you an opportunity to respond after. Honourable Mteto, proceed.
I just want to find out, where is the former board? Have you engaged the former board, Minister? Secondly, you said the names of the department officials implicated, which is very funny that they can respond and the board must wait for their response and know whether they are refuting in order to be able to respond fully. Doesn't make sense. You have already dissolved the board, but you are telling the board that these particular individuals refuted your version. The version that you're hearing today, that's what you are saying that they've refuted. So there's a desperate appetite. There's an appetite to have this board dissolved, whether it likes it. So one of the things that are principles, you give people natural justice. This board says it was never interviewed. What type of an investigation is that? Forensic investigation is that? You know, you talk of human resource ethics, standards. You give people natural justice to respond. You didn't give them that natural justice. You just based on what you have, regardless, and ignoring them, saying, we were not part of this board. When this happened, we were not part of this board. Every paragraph in their response, I don't know which response you read. I'm struggling to find out what is the real reason for the dissolvement of this board or dissolution of this board. Nobody has said this board has transgressed A, B, C, D, therefore. It's only what we are hearing, 1.5. And I can tell you there are so many other entities that have wasted so much money, in 29 million. They are still there, they are not dissolved. What is it that you have against this board? What is the hidden agenda behind you dissolving this board? We will follow it, and I'm sure soon we'll know about it. Now, do you have contingency base? Should your reasons that you have given, or that I suppose you know, you haven't given us, should your reasons be successfully challenged, what would be your contingency plan? How much budget in exercising whatever that you've done now that you would have spent? Should this board be told you didn't do anything wrong, therefore you need to be reinstated? How much have you spent in your nominations? What informed the nominations process? What is it that you are in a hurry to do? The CEO was there before. The CEO is still here, but the board has been dissolved. Why didn't you fire the CEO, the CFO, whoever was there? Because it means that why only the board? Why the board? Operationally, the CEO and the CFO would be the ones who are dealing with the monies. If they've wasted money, you would be saying, no, the CEO must leave. But you still have the CEO, you have the CFO. It's only the board that has a problem. I don't have direct questions, but I am just airing my views, and I feel that you have transgressed principles. Natural justice, you're supposed to give them natural justice, they must respond. They were supposed to be interviewed in the process, so the process indeed was flawed. I can tell you that if they were not interviewed, even the former board was not interviewed, I wouldn't take the outcomes of that particular investigation as genuine. I think you should do the decent thing and apologize to this board and reinstate the board. Otherwise, you'll have to go do another exercise, seek your own investigation, another investigation, independent investigation from this one. This one has misled you. If whatever that we are hearing is true, and again, I said it, officials have a tendency of misleading political heads, but the buck stops with the political head. And they know that. Government doesn't fire people. It's very encouraging that you have this appetite of consequence management. It's for the first time we are hearing that, yeah, the minister is moving. We're still expecting CIFSA's report, forensic, and all others that you promised. I would want, these ones were initiated by you. I would want to see you moving swiftly like you did with these ones. Thank you, Chair. No further questions, no other
Thank you. I actually want to give the Minister an opportunity to respond, but Minister, do you mind Dr. Masejo is going to lose her plane? Can I give her an opportunity at fine then the Minister? No, I thought you want to respond. No, if you want to respond, then you can leave. I don't have the powers to expel you.
Yeah, Chair, I trust Dr. Manjura to continue, and yeah, so I'm good.
Thank you for that, the Minister.
Chair, thank you so much. The Honourable Mtetwa mentioned downtown studios. He mentioned CIFSA. Downtown studios, we closed down. CIFSA, we stopped funding from them. So I just want to say, where he says that nothing has been done, I wanted to start there. But also, Honourable Mtetwa educated me about a lot of stuff sometimes. Allow me to educate him that as a minister cannot fire a CEO. It doesn't happen. No minister has the power to fire a CEO. A board can fire a CEO. That happens in companies, it happens in entities. The board, then, so I don't have the power to fire a CEO. And the last thing I want to just answer his question. I get things on my desk, and this is on my desk. This report given to me by the chief auditor, which is here today, that this investigation is done. I read through it myself with my advisors, and when I wake up tomorrow morning, I'm going to feel the same way. Because I have nothing against this board. I'm just doing the recommendations. It cannot be, we shouldn't start that, where ministers, on the basis of people having done well and being accused of one, I would say, wrong thing, and then say, no, we cannot act because they've done so many things right. What I propose here, Honourable Chair, is read the report that informed my, as you said now, which gave me great comfort, that members will sign an NDA. And call us back here again. Imagine if I didn't act on a report done by an independent company. And I know, Honourable Mtetwa, you think we're not going to act against certain people. I can tell you that I had a meeting with the auditor when she's here. I said to her, I want you to understand one thing. I'm never going to change one report of yours. Just bring them. Brought me a report last week, I think, or last week, the week before last, that implicates very senior people in the department. And I looked at that report. I said to her, trust me, will not change anything here. I know a person in that report, you always see them with me talking football and sports. We are going to, and that is what I said to myself. So I just want to say, if that report was saying that any other thing, I would have implemented it. So it's not that I've got a personal vendetta. You speak about the people that are coming. I want you to follow up, Honorable Mtetwa. But why are you wanting to make this a Gayton Mckenzie thing? Did I write the report? No. Did I institute the report? No. Was I here when these things happened? No. What is my job as a minister? To do what the report tells me to do. So I despise the fact, Honorable Chair, where it looks like I'm the one chasing this board. I'm not. I didn't institute the investigation. If they were not interviewed, I then gave them opportunity to answer certain questions. And if they feel aggrieved that they've not been sufficiently, they have a right, like they are doing now, to exercise that right. But that's why you see the CEO, I have not, because I'm not eager just to take action and transgress what I'm allowed to do. Thank you very much.
Can the auditor, in very crisp, take us through the authenticity of this report and also whether they are credited and with whom? In very short. Honorable Musa, ask your question so long.
Mine is quite long. You want to let her finish up? Because...
Go for it. Go for it, Honorable Musa. We'll give an opportunity now.
Thank you so much, Honorable Chairperson, and I really appreciate our two honorable members from the committee that has been candid with expressing fairness and justice. I think it is only appropriate, really appreciate, Chairperson, that in terms of ensuring the interest of South Africans, that fairness and justice is expressed in this committee today. The one thing that I have established during these hearings is that the confidence and the trust of this committee hasn't been taken into consideration. It is absolutely clear that this committee was not given the opportunity to ensure that those implicated that the minister talks about was presented to this committee, and that is of high concern to this committee. And that is why you see that yourself as the chairperson and our honorable members, Molatsani as well as Mtetwa, is questioning the minister in a way that needs to hold him accountable for the decisions that he's taken. So, Honorable Chairperson, in order to have the interest of fairness and justice in these proceedings to follow through, the explanation today presented, I think we should consider what the public's opinion and South Africans think of the dissolvement of this particular board and the reputation that Honorable Mtetwa has spoken about in terms of the image. And you can see the integrity of many of these board members coming from professional backgrounds and long-standing, good standing, to present the cases to say why was this board dissolved. Now, one of the other situations is that the board makes it absolutely clear that they were never consulted. And Honorable Molatsani has also pointed out that in the interest of fairness, both when somebody is implicated, surely they should have been given an opportunity. In this case, they were not given an opportunity. Surely they were not given an opportunity. The board members that sit here were not consulted, and they make this explicitly clear, and the minister has not refuted it up until now. The members that are implicated, and I like what the Honourable Chairperson has offered, that those members should be basically with the agreement that the minister talks about, that the NDA agreement should be signed. And in that circumstances, then the trust is shown truly from the minister's side. The equal opportunity should be given to the board, and our concerns is how does this augur with the South African citizens? The minister has not also used his discretion in terms of dissolving the board. And I'm concerned about the transparency. There was absolutely no transparency and trust and confidence given to us. We require the names to be presented. This is not about changing a decision, Minister. The heart of the state is equally important to this committee. You talk about the heart of the city, the state. The committee is also committed to do its job as it's expected to do. And this is also not about legends. The member that has spoken earlier, Dr. Manjra, spoke about legends. It is his right. If he feels somebody is a legend in his personal way, tomorrow our chairperson will be a legend if he issues the right directives. And there's nothing wrong with that. I don't see a problem with that, Minister.
The chair is not a legend yet.
He will be. He will be. If he's moving in the right direction. So I admire his stance in terms of the way this meeting is being conducted. It seems that we all will be soon holding you responsible, Minister Mckenzie. You have committed to resign. And I'm going to hold you accountable to the resignation should you not apologize. Because it is clear from all the honorable members, and you see the board members here as well, that the integrity of these members has been compromised. And it is only fair that we cannot just leave it as a void. Honorable Minister, you were accused many a times, whether you were in Dubai, expenditure or whatever it is. And nobody fired you just like that. They needed evidence, proper evidence. Just with reports to come and dissolve a board is uncalled for. It is not equitable. It is not justice. It is not fair on the integrity of many of these board members. If the minister is serious about his commitment about resignation, then you will do the right thing, Minister. Is either, like some of the members has requested, an apology. If we've erred, we must stand bold enough to say we've compromised many of these members here presenting themselves today. I think it is only fair that we don't tarnish their integrity and their honor. It is unfair on their part, without being consulted, to dissolve this particular board. I also disagree with the ministers impromptu just making a decision on recommendations. It's the most dangerous thing you can do. The most dangerous thing one can do as a minister, you have committed to, Minister, and that is on recommendations, without applying your mind and discretion as to how should you issue a directive of dissolving the board. So I hope you realize the implications of the consequences of this particular decision that has been made. Thank you so much, Honourable Chairperson.
Thank you. I'm going to take another member, Honourable Potgieter. We'll get to the issue later.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, perhaps maybe I can start where my colleague ended off. I do disagree that, you know, forensic reports in their entirety should just be implemented because they were issued by a reputable company. Many forensic reports have been issued with ulterior motives. They have also been issued to target whistleblowers, you know, at the expense of those that are actually culpable. I think it's upon us to actually, you know, interrogate what we receive as forensic reports that are backed by evidence. It's very difficult, I think, for us to judge the forensic reports in itself, but I understand that we will be getting a copy of that. But on the face of it, what it sounds like it sets out to investigate was the 1 million odd rand that was spent in the arbitration court, which is why it came out with a finding against the current board. For me, the issue is not really the 1 million rand. The issue is the damage that was done to the country with what happened. And this started in 2018. Now, the presentation from SAID says that they came clean through the audit from WADA. But I'd like to ask whether or not WADA actually raised concerns in their 2018 audit with regards to the legislation framework that didn't align to the code and the risks that SAID had to address before 2021, because it sounds like in your report that everything was hunky-dory and, you know, you cleared it. But from what I understand, SAID, WADA actually started raising this 3 years prior to the 2021 date. Just to start, I think we've touched on the sort of POPI Act, but Chair, perhaps maybe a broader, you know, address of this is needed because it is something that is being used routinely to prevent disclosure to Parliament. And the intention of legislation is what's important, not how people interpret it or what it's, you know, how they think it should be implemented. It requires that personal information is processed safely and securely and that is not, you know, utilized for nefarious reasons. What it doesn't protect is, you know, or what it doesn't allow for is not disclosing to Parliament committees. That was never the intention. It's being used at municipalities, provinces, national, everywhere now. All of a sudden you can't get information because of POPI. And I've been advised by many an official that this is the case. So perhaps maybe from the Speaker's office or you know, wherever it may be, the State Law Advisor, for example, that can actually give a briefing on the intent of the POPI Act, because I can tell you it's not, it'll make everybody's lives a lot simpler. And just with regards to the precedent that's been set in Parliament, you know, the SIU reports into state capture during the PPE procurement, during COVID, you know, the management reports and forensic investigations from the AG into ESCOM, municipalities, departments, SCOPA, also the COCTA portfolio, all of them have received forensic reports on various issues that contained labour and disciplinary matters that were pending or where people had yet to be charged. But because the oversight of Parliament is considered so important, it was deemed that these portfolio committees had to view those reports. So there is precedence, just so that we've got that on the table. And I think it's important going forward because I don't suspect it's the first time or the last time that, you know, you're going to hear this. Then just going back to this issue with the SAIDS Act, I'm not understanding, you know, there seems to be, we've received all this information, and you'll excuse me because I am relatively new, but it all conflicts each other. And that's my problem. I think the answer lies in the middle somewhere. The first issue is, how did the State Law Advisor get the legislation? And did he just decide on his own that he's going to go and certify it and sign it and send it to Parliament? I find that very hard to believe. So I'd like to understand who, between the board or the executive of SAID, who sent the legislation to the State Law Advisor, because he couldn't have just suddenly hacked somebody's computer and picked it up himself. So perhaps maybe the comment that he's not here to, you know, to speak to it is something that needs to be included going forward. The signatory that you mention in your report, who acts as the signatory for SAIDS? Would it be the CEO or somebody else on your executive? I'd also like to understand what the executive's role was in this particular piece of legislation. And I think two of my colleagues mentioned it. The board doesn't act alone. They're not an entity that tells everybody what's happening. The executive of the entity essentially runs the operations and should should have been involved in it. There also seems to be this back and forth between SAIDS and the department about who's responsible. And to be honest, nobody cares. It was embarrassing. If you think it did no damage, you are exceptionally wrong. It created so much damage in the eyes of our citizens, never mind internationally. Let's not even worry about that. There's already so much distrust in government that this creates, I mean, I know people, and I hang out with people who don't like politics because this is a lot and you need, a space away from it, who were just like devastated by it. Because sports is the only thing that works despite government. And I tell you, if all of us fell over today, they'd still carry on working. So it caused a hell of a lot of damage, and I don't think anybody did a good job. But to say that the board is solely responsible for that, I find very hard to believe. This backwards and forwards without any evidence, I mean, even the letters that we got in this report are only the first page. So I can't see the rest of the minister's letter. I can't see the rest of the SAID's response. I can't see the rest of the board's response. I've got the first page. And I mean, if you submit evidence like that, I'm not quite sure how you would come to any sort of conclusion because you don't know what happened in the rest of the correspondence. After the code was enacted and WADA issued the non-compliance notice, who received that notice? And on the face of that, they then gave a deadline of the 31st of January 2023. Then in October 2023, SAIDS confirmed to this portfolio committee, from what I understand and from the records, that workshops were held with national sporting bodies to comment on the draft bill, and a deadline of May 2023 was given to them. Now, if WADA had advised that the 31st of January 2023 was the deadline, why then did SAIDS go and engage sporting bodies and give them a deadline that was 4 months later, understanding that you were going to not comply with the requirement? And I think that leads into why was there such a lag between the meeting on the draft legislation between the department and SAIDS and the actual first draft of the 5 drafts that you mentioned that went through to WADA. It's like nothing happened for 3 months, despite knowing that you were already over deadline. Then, now the decision to appeal the non-compliance, which was made, I assume, by the minister at the time and was supported, to me, it appears on the face of it that decision was purely made to buy time. It wasn't actually because there was any belief that the non-compliance ruling was incorrect. It was because there had been such a delay in actually getting this legislation off the ground that you needed something to stall the non-compliance ruling in order to get the legislation to WADA. Now, for me, that is, maybe it's a good decision or not, Chair, I'm not quite certain, but it's not good governance. It's simply a tactic to stall something, which I don't know if that falls on the board or the minister, but I do think that the political head at the time holds a lot of responsibility in terms of that decision. Then, just with regards to this, the redacted version, I think I've covered, Chair. The comment that WADA needs to show empathy or sympathy, the crisis was self-inflicted, really. I don't see why. I mean, I feel that they had to issue non-compliance in order to force the department into action. If they hadn't done that, would we still be sitting with a draft piece of legislation that nobody had touched? Is really the question. And I think this sort of abdication of responsibility from the executive is very worrying. That legislation by 2010 was already outdated. It started in 1997. By 2010, there was so much advancement in sports and in terms of anti-doping regulations that legislation should have been revised during then. And whether that's between the board and the executive is neither here nor there. I think the question, Chair, is that the board seems to be being dissolved almost immediately, and the executive, from what I understand, is not even being questioned on this. Then there are certain individuals within the department who may or may not sit on the executive who are being investigated but haven't been charged. And essentially, all of these things are happening separately instead of as a whole. So now if you go and find certain individuals in the department guilty in 3 months' time and find out that it wasn't the board at fault, but you've already acted against them, then what do? And I think this speaks to my colleague's comment on a contingency plan. Because you cannot do these things in separation. And I do feel that the dissolution of the board was premature. I mean, understanding that they started on the 1st of December, it appears that the work actually started going from the beginning of 2023. because they already had the stuff in Parliament by May 2023, and it was, you know, June 2023. So there was action during their period, and for us, I'm not understanding the reasons outside of this 1 million rand as to why they were dissolved, but there's still been no charges laid against, you know, officials in the departments, and it is quite concerning. I'd also like to understand, and lastly, Chair, two last things, sorry. The case that was taken to the arbitration committee in Switzerland, what reasoning was given to the minister at the time as to, you know, the purpose of going to appeal this? And I suppose there was a briefing or report or a legal opinion that was issued, if the committee can possibly get a copy of that. The reasoning that supported or you know, motivated for him to confirm that this was taken to arbitration. And then lastly, while this is all ongoing and everything's uncertain, who's taken over the board's functions? Is this being done directly by the department or by the SAID's executive? And I assume this is probably going to go on for a little bit of time. So it's concerning that there is no board operating, and who is being held accountable for decisions that would normally be taken by the board. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. The CEO, the Minister, and then the Parliament's legal advisor. I also want you to respond, and perhaps also to respond onto the issue of whether a NDA is a necessity in this particular case. Minister?
I just think that NDA is not a necessity. In this case, I just think we should give the portfolio committee. But I also want to say I agree with Ms. Potgieter, like this juncture when it comes to the board and the staff action against the staff. I took that the same energy should have been used with the people in the department. That one I will concede, but I will also rectify that tomorrow morning, because I think you're absolutely right that it brings, you know, I look at it from outside. That this side there was action, it's just as Honourable Mtetwa said, and yourselves, Honourable Potgieter, that the people implicated in the department, I will take that up with the DG, and by the time you've read the report, that action would have been instituted with the same vigor that the board has been dealt with. Then the issue that I think listening to the honourable members, I think it is urgent that they read the report, because we will be here. There's many things that have been said here which I know it's not the case, but I can't say it's an untruth, because how you've not had the hindsight is very, very important. So I would ask the DG that we make the report available today to the honourable members, and be reconvened here in order to, because I'm also prejudicing the board members by defending my decision here. Maybe it's stuff that they wanted access to. So I just want to say, if we can make that available and come back here, and maybe the board, the committee will understand what I understand or why I took that decision. Thank you. Chair, sorry. There's wanted the lady to speak, but I'm not the chair, sorry. My apologies, Chair.
The auditor.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you, Chair. Just to indicate that the terms of reference for this investigation and the procedures that we actually wanted the Ngidi Business Advisory to look at was to determine the relevant stakeholders in this process and to determine the role that were undertaken by each stakeholder when the communication was received from WADA indicating that South Africa was non-compliant with the WADA code in relation to the anti-doping, as well as to identify any stakeholders that were required by law to participate in this process and did not do so. If there were those who did not participate, to determine the reasons for their participation in the process. And thereafter also, the circumstances that resulted in South Africa being non-compliant with the WADA code. And also to determine the conditions or the situations in the trail of events, the processes from the date of non-compliance, from the date that the non-compliance was communicated until the time of the pending sanction by WADA against South Africa. And furthermore, failure by any parties or relevant stakeholders which were required to ensure compliance with the WADA code, and to determine if any relevant parties or stakeholders were negligent in this process and the consequences thereof that resulted in South Africa being non-compliant. Now, this was our mandate that we got from Minister Kodwa at that time, and that was informed the terms of reference. So in a nutshell, what the investigation found, and this was based on the evidence at the disposal, both from the department as well as from SAIDS, predominantly through the CEO. Just in terms of the summary of some of the findings, that the initial notification of non-compliance with the WADA code in relation to the SAID Acts was brought to the attention of SAIDS on 31 October 2022, through correspondence addressed by WADA to Mr. Gallant. This was almost 2 years since the ISCCS and the 2021 WADA code, which SAIDS was found to be non-compliant with, which came into effect in January 2021. Instead of immediately commencing with the necessary process with the view to engaging DSAC to amend the SAIDS Act and bring it in line with the WADA code, when the current WADA code and the ISCCS came into effect in January 2021, SAIDS expended resources and a considerable amount of time was spent on the Sports Integrity Bill, which they started working on as early as 2018. As the ultimate end user of the legislation and a signatory to the WADA code, SAIDS should have acted with the necessary speed immediately once the WADA code and the ISCCS came into effect in 2021 and engaged DSAC on the new WADA code and the ISCCS to enable DSAC to commence with the process of reviewing the SAIDS Act and identify any provisions therein that were not in line with the WADA code. This would have ideally afforded DSAC an opportunity to commence with the necessary process to amend the legislation way before the non-compliance was even identified and raised by WADA in October 2022. So, Chair, that's basically a summary of the thread of the report, and we've even given detailed the timelines in terms of how the process did unfold between SAIDS and the communication with the department regarding the final end product that was tabled to Parliament. I won't go into all the details, but the report is supported by substantive evidence. In terms of the engagement with the board, like I've indicated, we've received communication from the CEO, and based on that, we had sufficient information to make informed decisions in terms of the recommendations in this report. In respect of the disciplinary process that Minister spoke about, the process has started. Colleagues were notified of the intention of the disciplinary, and the matter is currently sitting with our labor relations, and the last input that was communicated to us was they were looking for the exhibits pertaining to the allegations that's come forth in the report, and we are then putting those exhibits together to share with the colleagues for the disciplinary process to go forward. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, it's just a pity it's been communicated only now to us, but never mind.
Sorry, Chair.
There's also...
I just want to may I just
proceed.
The report has been sent to you, Chair, right now, just while we're sitting here. The full report. Thank you.
Okay.
This auditor, the one that did the investigation, forensic investigation?
No.
No.
It's not.
No, it was a firm, an outside firm, Honorable.
Honorable Mataung.
Yeah, because of I was confused. She only quoted until 2022, and yet the board started on the 9th of November 2022. So that's one of the things that I'm trying to be confused to say. Whatever that you're reading to us, it doesn't suit what the minister said you must say to us. So you guys need to correct yourself. You need to make sure that you pull up your socks when you come here. Because we're sitting here discussing these things, and yet we're having back and forth information that doesn't correspond. Please, guys.
Let's interrogate. We have started the process. It could have been done better. It is a little bit messy, but let's go on. But I want to just check before I'm going to. I just want to give the other members also opportunity that they haven't speak yet. Honorable Nkosi, Mataung, and Honorable Daniels. There was a quest for the copy of appeal, the arbitration letter. Are we in a position to get that?
Why must we ask those reports?
Yes, Chair. I have a whole case file bundle put together for you.
Thank you. Honorable Nkosi.
No, thank you very much, Chair. Yeah, Chair, I think it was... Chair, I think we were supposed to get to this report before we come here. It is not correct that the report is sent now after we have requested the report. That's not the way of dealing things or doing things here. It was wrong for the first time that we were not given the report whilst we are going to discuss this matter. I think in future, officials must take us very, very seriously. Seemingly, they don't take us seriously. We are like puppets, and we are the members of the portfolio committee. We cannot be taken the way they are taking us. Chair, I heard the minister saying that it seems as if we are saying this thing of dissolving is his thing, and it's not his. He acted upon the report that he got when he reached the office. You know, the reason that we are saying the minister was unfair is that even though the report was presented to him, because he said the chief auditor indicated to him that the investigation is concluded. But even if the investigation was concluded, the minister was supposed to look at this matter thoroughly before he took any decision, and look at the issue of those that were not interviewed. That is why we will say it was not fair for the board to be dissolved without being interviewed. We can understand the issue of the term of references. We know that if there are investigations, there'll be terms of references and whatever. But the matter here is that how do you expel or how do you dissolve a board without being interviewed other members? What is the rationale behind? How did you come to that conclusion to dissolve people and yet you didn't hear the side of their story? That is the problem. And that is why we will be seen as if we are defending. We're not defending anyone. We don't know anyone here. But we want things to be done properly. Chairperson, the minister acted very, very swiftly to dissolve this board. We must indicate it. The board that has done so well in a very short space of time. But because he got the report, he didn't go through to the report and apply his mind correctly. Probably if he has done that, he should maybe find that it was not, there were those that were not investigated and maybe requested that time be extended so that they can be interviewed. At least it will be fair even to them. That is not right, Chair. We must indicate that the recommendations that were found there were not correctly. the decision or the recommendations led them to take that decision was not right, because they were supposed to be given a chance to say whatever that they want. They are speaking about the officials, that there'll be internal hearings now. What about the board members? The officials are going to be given an opportunity to come to the hearing. What about the board members? They are already dissolved. Why? Why? It is not fair. I think the minister must do the right thing. He must do the right thing. We are not accepting this dissolution of the board. We are not, really, because it was unfair for them to be dissolved without being given an opportunity to come and present themselves before what is this company, the accounting firm that was there. Because it was also mentioned that the company that made the investigation was the accounting firm company. It was not a legal one. And I think the minister was supposed to see that as well, that this company that is doing the investigation, is it credible or what? If it is not credible, maybe he was supposed to do something in order to correct such things. The recommendations, I still say it, are unfounded because none of the board members were interviewed. So the findings are one-sided. The findings are one-sided. We can say whatever that you want to say, but the findings are one-sided. How can you crucify me without asking me? How can you punish me? You take a decision about me for something that you didn't ask, even if I know it or not. That's not right. We often wonder as to what is it that was so rushing to take this decision. This is not fair, really. Thank you very much, Chair. I'm still appealing that the minister must do the right thing. Really, thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Nkosi. I'm going to take another member, Honourable Mataung. Don't reveal from where you are and which team.
Thank you so much, Chair. You know, I have two things. Honourable members have said multiple things. So I believe the committee is very important. And with these findings, maybe when they arrive at the minister's office, as he says, he just found them there. I believe at the same time, this committee was supposed to be consulted and say, this is the problem that I've found regarding this department. How do we handle the situation? That's one. For us to receive issues whereby everything has been disclosed and say, okay, the case is done, it's dismissed, meaning, why are we here? Are we going to reinstate them and say, let them go back? If we have those powers as a committee, then let it be. We'll reinstate them. Secondly, we say the board have worked tirelessly to make sure that we fly our South African flag abroad. In 2 days' time, Minister is going to New Zealand, and he will witness when the guys are playing the rugby, and if we win, he will fly that flag. So it means the board is very important to us. So we must believe that we really need this board, or we really need SAIDs in order to make sure that when we send our guys to go, whether it's athletes, whether it's soccer, whether it's rugby, whether it's cricket or anything, for them to be able to raise our South African flag, we need SAIDs. And if the board is dissolved at the present moment, what do you have at place in order to make sure that we are saved from WADA code? What is disturbing again is we found out that there's members from TISAC which were implicated, but they are not here. But we see the board being here. how do you discipline our own as well? So for me, myself and I just smell the red here. There is somebody somewhere who have been promised to say, you will enter into a board, and I will make sure of it. And this is what we're seeing here today. Because of, I believe, when we say these guys have been having a clean audit, then why do we have to dissolve them? Or we need to sit them down and correct them and say, we believe systems have changed. These are the new methods that you need to work with. Let's work like this. So that we need to babysit them, because of we need them as much as they need us. So we need to school together. We need to school each other together. Yeah, this is hard. We need to reinstate them. We don't have a choice.
Welcome to the committee responses. The department, the minister. Minister, please respond. Yeah, my procedure is there's still one member, then I will give a bite to other members. But I would like you to respond to two, unless I'm giving an opportunity to Honorable Daniels and then to respond. To Honorable Daniels, you may proceed.
Thank you, Chairperson. I want to start off by first posing a question to the Minister. Honourable Minister, you've been in these committees how many times already, eh? And many a times we are all aware that you took up office this term. But many of the things that you were faced with pertains to things that happened before you took up office. So my question to you is, upon taking up office and you come here to this committee, Honourable Minister, do you feel that it's correct to hold you accountable for what has happened even before you took up office? Question?
Respond, Minister.
Oh, I think it's a tricky question. I'll tell you why, Honourable. I'm the Minister. I'm responsible for the Department of Sport, Arts and Culture. I cannot run away and say, I wasn't there. I have been given oversight over this department. So I think I'm responsible for what happens. And if you ask me, am I responsible for what happened in the past? I'm responsible to highlight the good of the past, but I'm also responsible for fixing what I might deem has been done incorrectly previously. That is the best answer I can come up with.
It's called taking it over foot stewards. Proceed.
Chair, you mustn't use that word. You traumatized me when you used the word foot stewards. Many years ago, no, but many years ago, in my previous life, I was in Zambia for the first time. And I saw a car there for 9,000 rand. And we couldn't get a taxi. So I thought, let us buy this car for 9,000. We go to our destination and we do our meetings for 2 days, and I come back and I can sell this car for 8,000 or 6,000 back. And then just as I gave the money and I drove not even a meter or 2 meters, the car stopped. And I went to the guy, I said, your car's not working. He said, you bought it food stewards. That's not my business.
Proceed, Honourable Daniels.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Minister. I want to pose the same question to the doctor next to you. When you take up office, do you believe that it's correct to hold you accountable for what has happened before your time?
Dr. Mandra?
There's a difference between accountability and remedial work. You cannot hold people accountable for what they're not responsible for, but you can demand of them to remediate any problems that they've inherited.
All right, thank you so much. Now, honorable members, colleagues, SAIDs, DSAC, chairperson, I want to make a very simple example. I'm sitting here in this meeting now. If I get a phone call now and I'm told that my son done something outside somewhere, I cannot be responsible for his actions out there. But I'll be able to give an account as to why he done or did what he did, or his behavior was the way it was. And that's the difference between responsibility and accountability. I cannot say I don't know. There's no ways I can turn my back and say, no, don't call me for this. I must at least, if I'm not responsible, be able to give an account on the behavior of my child. Now, where am I going with this? Having listened to SAIDs, I've picked up that they completely neglect or refuse or fail to take accountability. Now, if you cannot even take accountability, which is much lesser than taking responsibility, I'm not surprised that no responsibility has been taken here by SAIDs for the mess they found themselves in. Because for how long have we been told by more than 2 members of SAIDs of the former board that it happened before our time? No, it wasn't during our term. And that cannot be right. Therefore, I ask the questions. The fact that you are shying away from giving an account make me sit here and wonder on the issue of trust between us. Because one must be very honest at all material times and have broad shoulders enough to be able to take responsibility for. You see, here's the issue. By your very own submission by more than 2 members, you've cited that where you went wrong was you spent so much time on your alternative models and you neglected to focus on the non-compliance matters. You cited the 2 scenarios and you went further and saying that even the ministers had no clue of your model, the groundbreaking model. Now, former ministers were ridiculed for being clueless. And that is not correct. You see, the fact that you have taken over and this problem was there, the fact that WADA came with that sanction on SAIDs, I cannot accept that you don't want to accept that you've inherited this issue. Then I hear about the reputational harm and not financial harm. I'm encouraged and I must commend you for confirming that you're only getting 16K per annum for your work done, which is a negligible amount. I mean, it's not even worth mentioning. I must commend you on that. But citing that the dissolution of the board created reputational harm makes me sit back and pause and wonder. Reputational harm in which sense? Is there egos involved? Where does the reputational harm fit in? I would think that if one serves for so many terms, that there must be some egos or some bubbles that's been burst. You see, there's a big difference between the portfolio committee and the ministerial office. Our job here, our duty here, our competency here speaks to oversight. And we do not have executive powers. Because I also hear now that we must decide on whether the board can be dissolved or not be dissolved. As I'm sitting as a member of this committee, I've got no powers to take such decision. I don't have that. I'm not the minister. And one must, once you make peace with the fact that you've got oversight role and not executive powers, then we will understand. Now, you see, it is because of the executive powers that the decision was taken to dissolve the board. Powers we don't have as an oversight committee. Then we are saying that the rationality against the abuse of power by the minister is not cool. I don't know if you exercise your executive powers, whether it's an abuse of power. It's a power that you have. Like it or not. If you don't like it, become the minister. Then, I'll tell you the arrogance that I pick up here. You see, there's really egos that's dented here. And that's all what it's all about. Because now, WADA was okay to work with. They ask you for this, they ask you for that. Come, sleepless nights, so I've heard here. We sit, we put reports together, we submit the reports to WADA. WADA was okay. Until they came with a finding that didn't suit you. Now there's a problem. Now we are told, how can a non-government entity come and impose consequences on you guys? You know why? It didn't go your way. I want to know, if you do an investigation, surely when you do an investigation, you have to start asking questions. You have to start gathering information. So the investigations that were done, because I'm saying this because I hear that we were not interviewed. Let me ask you, if an investigation is done, who submitted the information that was requested? Because as an investigator in this case, if the information has been received, information has been collated, one must just determine if it's factual information, if it's a correct information. And if you are satisfied with the information, why must you still go and interview people if you've got the information that you were looking for? But no, we must be... You see, you are sitting with the summary of the report. Of course, you cannot be sitting. Imagine, you are being investigated, but you want to be sitting with everything that you've been investigated for. It doesn't make sense. So, Chairperson, I just feel, man, that we must not act outside the powers that's vested in us as an oversight committee. We have to respect the different powers bestowed upon different people within government. And until we cannot make peace with that, we will have this bickering to and from and going about. And we must learn to leave politics out of it. We must learn not to be biased in our approaches. And we must see it for what it is. So, Chairperson, I just want to check one thing here. I spoke about the redacted report. It's there. There. Chairperson, also considering that the minister has now confirmed that he's forwarded the report to you, I don't think I want to go into anything further until I see that report, until we see that report, I'm sure, because there's much more questions that will come from that. Or, yeah. So until such time, Chairperson, I will stand down. Thank you.
Honourable members, I see quite a few hands after Honourable Daniels, but let me guard against this. And that is a rebuttal among members of the Portfolio Committee. Every member has his or her view that is directed on that side. So, and every member has that right. I don't want us to have a rebuttal. Then we're going to make it messy and it's going to politicize it. But what I agree with Honourable Daniels, and maybe the legal desk must assist us here, what I agree with him is that we cannot interfere. And that is what is going around in Parliament and amongst ministers of interference. We have settled the score now about our role as Parliament and our oversight. The minister, when we started this meeting, he said, I agree, you are playing your role, that's why we are here. We appreciate that. But other than that, what is presented on what we know, what we want, can be interrogated and debated, and we can have a rebuttal on that. Whatever been said, we need a response from that side. So I really don't want a rebuttal or ask members. The honourable member, before I'm going to give a chance, raise again the issue on the report. But I must also say that there are concerns, and members, we need to act mature in this. Honourable Molatani, you and Honourable Nkosi are patriots in this field. There is names. So the report is already with us, and I have given an instruction not to send it yet. My gut feelings say print it and give it to members. Furthermore, my gut feelings say retract the names. And above all, we have undergone an oath. And I want to make a very serious and strong appeal to members not to share this. The moment when this committee clause came out like this, it was the minister said, well, I've got nothing to explain, have it. So we're having it now. But we must now deal with maturity with that report. And that is my humble appeal to each and every member here. We will discuss this report. I am already busy with the minister now for a possible date. We are looking at the 16th of September, the concern of the rugby game by Honourable Mataung. There is a possibility that the President is calling all ministers, but we have to discuss this as soon as possible with a provisional. Someone has said it, and I'm not aware of it, as to whether already there's a process of advertisement and all of this. And I don't want the committee to overplay its hand when it comes to interference rather than the oversight. Because what is happening with issues of this nature? We discuss it, and then only thing that we can make is a report. It's a report and a recommendation. But when we have a look, a bird's eye view on the forensic audit report, we will be able perhaps also to then make recommendations if the rule allow us. So I want to refer members to Rule 184 pertaining to this information that will be sent. But I will engage after this meeting again with members. And further on, we have to take one another in our trust in future forensic outcomes, so that we as a committee can take this country forward in this regard. There has been Dr. Manjra, CEO, would like you to respond to some of the issues. Minister, I also would want you to respond if you like to. Dr. Manjra.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to respond to a number of issues. The first is that, I mean, quite appropriately, the names of the members of who are the staff of DSAC have not been named because they haven't been disciplined yet. The fact of the matter is that the entire board of SAIDS has been dissolved and the names are public. So on the one hand, you've had no sense of propriety regarding the integrity of one group of people, but you're protecting another group of people. So I'm beginning to I'm trying to understand that. And the honourable member speaks about reputational damage, and they think it's about ego and not reputational damage. Now, I mean, we can throw barbs like that, but we're not here to throw barbs. I mean, I can accuse the member of singing for his supper, but I'm not here to do that. I mean, we're here to kind of find solutions to problems we have and see what's the kind of remediation. The fact is, if I apply to serve on another board and there's a question that is asked to me, have you ever been part of a board that has been dissolved? I've got to answer yes. And what does that say about my integrity? So clearly there's issues around integrity that are involved, and I may not be appointed to another board because there's a question mark hanging over my head because I've been removed from a board. So the question of reputation and integrity is fundamental, it's critical. To me, that's why we're here. We're not here for any other reason. And I'm not, I personally, I mean, since people have personalized this, I didn't want to come back onto this board for this term. The problem was that there was an entirely new board, and two of us were asked to stay on simply for continuity. I've served my term. Minister said I've served 20 terms, but I've served in different capacities. But I didn't want to come back because I said I have had my time. New people must come on, but there was no continuity. Mr. Harold Adams and I were the only people who were back on the board simply for the sake of continuity from the previous board. So let me say that. Now, a couple of things in terms of, we've heard that there's a sense of that staff of DSAC have been given a right of hearing, and the state law advisor has said something. The SAIDS board has said something. The point is, who adjudicates this? Somebody ultimately adjudicates these questions. Who's right and who's wrong? Whether the SAIDS board input is wrong, but your staff are right and the state law advisor is right, somebody adjudicates those questions. And that's why we come to this portfolio committee to saying there's contending narratives. Have a committee or a judicial commission or whatever it is to investigate this. That's what we're coming here for. Otherwise there's individuals making those decisions about who's right and who's wrong, whether we're right or the staff is wrong. So that's the point we're making. Now, I'm not casting aspersions on ministers, as some ministers know and other ministers don't know. There was a difference. In the past, ministers stayed for long periods of time and they got to know their portfolios very well. And all of you know that. Now, I mean, subsequently to those three ministers changed very, very rapidly. And before we had 1 or 2 meetings with them and those ministers were gone. So if you look at Minister Stofida, you look at Minister Balfour, they served on WADA. So they understood it. That's the point I'm trying to make. I'm not trying to undermine the integrity or the intelligence of other ministers. And again, with Bhuti Kompela, he served as chair of this committee for years. I mean, I think he probably served for like 6-7 years as the chair of this committee. That's why I said he was a legend, because he was here for so long. That's the point I'm trying to make. I'm not trying to undermine anybody's integrity or intelligence here. Now, again, in Gidi, I'm not attacking them or saying they're incompetent because they are black firm. I'm looking at the substance of it. The fact of the matter is that the law advisor for the department says that because they interviewed the CEO and he gave them the information, that there was no need to interview the board. I mean, where's the rationality in that? Where's the legality or rationality? Where's the fundamental rule of audi alterum partem? Where's that fundamental rule? If you implicate people, if you dissolve a board on the basis of a report and you're saying they don't have to be interviewed, where's the fundamental rule of law? And where the law person says that's acceptable, I find it deeply, deeply disturbing. It's a constitutional right. So, I mean, again, that's important. And I mean, again, the point is accountability and responsibility. This board inherited things from the previous board. And I'm not for one moment arguing that the previous board was wrong. That this issue around the Act, as the Honourable Minister has said, is going back from 2010. It's going back from longer. Because this law, this Act had become kind of probably, not fit for purpose for a long, long time. So these conversations around this Act is going on for a very long time. So I am not pointing fingers at the previous board. So the whole thing about responsibility and accountability doesn't come in. The fact is that this board that was dissolved inherited issues because the WADA report came out just a month before they took office. Now, what they needed to do is they needed to remediate the problems they inherited. Not because the previous board was wrong, but just because they inherited something. So, to kind of speak about this thing about accountability. Also, we're not questioning the minister's power to dissolve the board. The minister has the power. That's why he dissolved it. It's about the rationality of it. That's the question we're asking. So it's not about the power. We're not questioning the minister's power. Also, in terms of, people are focusing on a 1 million rand. To me, again, that 1 million rand was a decision made jointly between the department, the minister, and SAIDS. In fact, at one point, we went to the minister and we said, who's covering this cost? We don't have money to pay.
Which minister?
Minister's worried.
Minister Kodwa.
Thank you.
And the board basically said this is DSEC's fault. We must go to DSEC and try and recover this money. This 1 million rand that we're paying for this case at CAS. And then the minister said, no, you guys, you pay the money, and that's why we paid for it. But people need to look at the big picture, and I've tried to paint this big picture. What were we facing as a board? We were facing suspension. We were facing suspension from international competition, or we fight this case. And the member is absolutely right. We didn't think we were going to win the case. We were playing for time. We were playing for time so that we could amend the legislation so that we could be compliant. So you're absolutely right. We were playing for time. That was the strategy. Otherwise, we wouldn't have gone to court. So you're absolutely right on that. This board worked tirelessly to try and recover that. So, yeah. Anyway, I'll stop there. I think I've spoken too much.
The minister.
I would laugh respectfully.
Present minister.
No, I just want to, Chairperson, I just want to highlight something which I think is a perception that we mistakenly have sometimes of yourselves. South Africa works because of the different portfolio committees. Because if there was no portfolio committees, and I say it very respectfully what I'm going to say now, it is very annoying sometimes. The portfolio committees can annoy us. I'm talking for myself as a minister sometimes, where I'll hear like, come and account for this. But that's the reason why South Africa works. So I mentioned that so that you know when I come here, I'm not coming here beating my chest and say, I can't be told. Many things I say I've learned from Minister Mtetwa in the music industry. But Mr. Mtetwa, Honorable Mtetwa, many times I learn from yourself, Chair. I've learned from Honorable Nkosi about many things. And Honorable Mulethan. So I'm just saying that I just don't want that we come here with arrogance. That's the first point. The second point is, the doctor here talks about the previous board. You were there.
Point of order. Sorry, Minister.
Pardon?
The Minister mentions we come here with arrogance. Please clarify.
No. I'm saying we don't come here with arrogance. I'm sorry, I've not learned from you yet because you are new yet. So maybe I should have made. No, I said we don't come here with arrogance.
We need to know which minister, and we need to know exactly what when you specify exactly about arrogance, the same way. Thanks, Minister.
So the point I'm trying to make is the doctor was part of the previous board.
Proudly so.
Yes, but also proudly give us the answers that we've been seeking regarding the previous board. If you are proudly part of the previous board, do not come here and give us answers like they were persons non grata, although you were part of them.
I never said that.
You were speaking here, I never once interfered. You were insulting us. I never once said something. I gave you the respect, so you finish. Can you give me the same courtesy?
Go for it.
Sure. So all I'm asking is that we've given the board all the information. The decision, and I can even quote the act, to dissolve a board lies with me. I'm the person appointing the board ultimately, and I'm the person that can dissolve the board. But that's not how I want to operate. If I come here and the committee shows me you've erred in how you dealt with this particular board, I want to say it right here. Once it can be proven to me on fact, not emotion, that I've erred, I'll be the first to say I can retract the course of action. I just needed to put that one out there. I'm glad the committee has that because I lean on this committee as a first-time minister. Also to guide me. Most of the people here, they've been around. So I just want to say it's not a case of me saying, although the act mandates me or empowers me, that's the beginning of the end. That's not who I am. I'm saying if the portfolio committee can show me, now you've erred in this instance, I'll be the first to say I'm withdrawing my decision. And that's why I want this matter to be ventilated. And that's all I wanted to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. But there's other parallel processes, I assume, in terms of advertisement and interviews. How can we curb that? And I appreciate the fact that you would want us to meet as soon as possible, number one. We have to meet as soon as possible, and members, portfolio secretary, note that that meeting must be in camera to discuss this forensic audit report. And we can have our discussions, and perhaps we can only advise and we can only convene or we can recommend, but we cannot take the decision or the powers from the minister, and we cannot interfere. If that is fine. Minister, you want to respond on the issue of the advertisement?
I think what we must do, once this issue is weak, Honorable Potgieter asked a very straight question, which is asked, what happens in the meantime? What happens in the meantime? The law mandates the CEO to be the accounting authority in the absence of a board. That's the law. So I think what we will do is one or two is, the sooner we can ventilate this issue to the satisfaction of the portfolio committee and the department. As soon as we are ventilating that issue, we will not appoint until we have ventilated the issue between the portfolio committee and the department. Just so that people can see that your inputs are not just for the sake of compliance or listening to you. And that's the type of relationship I strive to have together with the department.
Members, are you happy? Honorable Mtetwa?
It's happiness, Chair, but I just wanted to say also, I think we should also appreciate the fact that this board did not go to the media and make noise out there and do that. They've done the most decent thing to say, let's come to the portfolio committee.
Let me rectify that, because it has been said a third time. And I don't want the impression be created that they came to us. Remember, we met with the minister, right? And after that meeting, when we met the minister cordially informed us about his decision. It was then there where we said we have to call in the minister, this board dissolvement, and we have to involve the role players. We had a discussion on that. That is what happened. It comes from the portfolio committee. Dr. Mandra, you can correct me if I'm wrong. It is not an issue where we're going to create problem where people are going to start knocking at our doors. Ventilate the issues according to the procedures there. This issue was merely from the committee, as the minister said, and we become that nuisance. There's a lot, Dr. Kumalo, even to an extent where the DSEC has given way to the minister's advisor or assistants to start engaging with us, which is political appointments. I've opened that room, but I think maybe we should now be frank to the T when it comes to this kind of respect and negotiations. This meeting was very important. And what has happened here with the communication, it stemmed down the authority of this portfolio, not with saying that we do not respect the way DSEC operate. A case in point, and while it came to mind, let me mention it, the way the portfolio committee has been treated during the sports awards. No recognition has been given to this committee on the sports awards event to say that we are present. This portfolio committee bear the brunt of sitting at table 43. But Honorable Daniels did not have a seat.
Oh, my chair.
At least, he did not have a seat. He said he will sit in his car and watch this on TV or something like that. And that is how I want us, Dr. Kumalo, it's a year now. We have to get together because, and I must also say this, and I'm not saying it tongue-in-cheek, we are a GNU. And if these members can work together, even with those not part of this GNU, we must go and help in the communities where there's problems. In all of these members that are sitting here. Instead, members are sitting here, and some of the members forget there's a GNU. They act more and more like opposition parties towards the minister. But if the minister go out here, hey, the GNU's working, it's working. But if he's here, it's grill, brifles, and Chevrolet and everything. So I want to appeal to members. We have to start respecting one another. And maybe Dr. Kumalo is maybe the wrong platform to mention this, but I'm just saying this in passing, the way members of parliament are being treated. And I'm so happy, fortunately, the minister is from the Patriotic Alliance. He's member, he did not have a seat. I'm so happy, therefore. Honorable members, let me wrap up this meeting.
No, Chair.
Let me...
Chair, I had not finished my statement. But I'm saying, Chair, I think it should be educating even others. We are subjected to Sarah's abuse, left and right. These board members did not go to the media. I would have picked it up from the media that this was happening. They didn't. They waited for this moment to then talk. I think this is a good lesson for others, that in order for us to be able to resolve the issues, we need to come and talk and have a dialogue, not the national dialogue. I mean this dialogue here.
Members, let me wrap it up. Okay, Honorable Potri.
Sorry, Chair, just a point of clarity on the appointment process. So there will be no appointment. But what happens to the current nomination process? Is that going to continue, or are you going to put a stop to that?
Well, I'm not putting a stop to it. I'm putting a pause to it. Because I think the process, the people have applied. Maybe if you can tell us how far the process is. And then it comes to my desk. I can just, the Honourable Chairperson sent me a message to say he wants dates because he wants this thing wrapped up quickly. So I think a week or two will not cause maximum damage. It doesn't prejudice the people that applied to wait 2 weeks because none of them has been promised an appointment or so. I think we'll pause the process until this matter, which is a week or two. Maybe it would even have taken longer. I hope I've answered your question, Honourable. All right.
The Honourable Nkosi.
No, Chairperson, thank you very much. I would like to thank the Minister for the responses that he made. We really appreciate a Minister, because when we are here, you must be able to listen, and we must be able to listen as well. There's no one who's great from one another here. But Chair, I just want to say, we do know that we are members of the Portfolio Committee. We are playing oversight. We are not executive. A person who's having the executive authorities here, it's only the Minister that we know. So when we raise issues, it must not be taken as if we are politicizing them. We are not going to politicize things here. We are here as Portfolio Committee, portfolio committees here. So all of us, we must be given an opportunity to raise whatever, but not be taken as if we are politicizing things here. We are not going to do that. We know our mandate. Thank you very much.
So much. Honourable members, I really want to thank you for this. And we foresee that we will end up 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, especially where Minister Mckenzie is involved. I don't know why. He's always a suspect. Okay, let me give Dr. Mandra and then you, Dr. Honourable Molachani.
Thank you, Chair. There's just 2 points I want to make. One is I respect the fact that the entire report will be made available to this Portfolio Committee. My question is, would this entire report be available to the dissolved board? My second question is that, you know, I'm a medical doctor, and when I get a report or I read a report in a journal, the first thing I look at is methodology. If the methodology is flawed, the conclusions are flawed. So for somebody to come in saying, I looked at the conclusions and the recommendations and I acted on them, it's completely wrong. You look at the methodology first. If the methodology of a study is flawed, I wouldn't even look at it, because then the conclusions are flawed. So if a study tells me that people who have more birthdays live longer, that's obvious. But the point I'm making is that when you look at a report, the methodology is as important as the conclusions. And that's why in this report, we are questioning the methodology of this report, and therefore it's got flawed conclusions. And therefore you cannot act on conclusions based on a flawed methodology. Thank you.
Before the Minister respond to that, I think when I had a bird's eye view on the report, I had my own assumptions as well. Because in a short space of 20 days, I've counted it, from the 9th, you received a letter. You then write back and you requested the forensic report. That was, I think, the 15th. And on the 18th, 3 days after that, DSEC said, no, in terms of PIA Act, we can't. POPI Act. But you have given some other reasons as well on the previous. And on the 29th, you were given the marching orders. But we learn, all of us, we learn. And I like the Minister's admittance that he learned, and he learned a lot from us, and he's getting agitated for us in terms of our role and all of that. So when we're engaging now, and the questions arises from members here, they automatically, the ministers, they have the report. So there's another pathway for us now to go. But I think it is for the minister to respond as to whether his actions is justified, but again, it is also the minister's prerogative. It's his prerogative. We don't want to interfere. He's executive. It's our prerogative to call him in and say, let's have a look at what is transpired here. That is what Honourable Nkosi has emphasized. Our prerogative, let's get an understanding. Because it goes out into the public, And we have to play that oversight role to ensure that everything, goes well as far as the operations of these entities is concerned. Minister?
No, thank you. I just wanted to tell the doctor here. He's a doctor, but from an entrepreneur side, methodology is not always what we do as entrepreneurs. You as doctors do that. Coca-Cola sold 13 bottles the first year. Anybody would look at it like saying, this doesn't work. But I hear what you're saying. But I also want to say that you have a right to defend yourselves. You have a right. This is your name. It's going out there. But wouldn't it be best, Chair, if you call in the firm that did the investigation without calling all of us in? And I'm just a closed session of the portfolio committee, that they must come and say, why is it that they've maybe not called the second board? I would just want to think that would be where this committee should start. They can then, because maybe they don't say it, maybe they did call the board and there was no response. I'm not saying that, I'm just saying, let us just bring them in before we come in. And I don't even think DSEC people, because we are also implicated as the Department of Sport, Arts and Culture. Then also to bring in the state law advisor, because what Ms. Potgieter said is so important. I don't think in any world the state law advisor can just move a report forward that they would get from where. So in my short time here, so
yeah, Minister, that's enough. That's grateful.
Sorry, the last thing, I must personally apologize about the issue of the honourable, the chair not having been, and the members of the portfolio. I want to apologize. You know, that's not how we should be doing stuff. And I can assure you that's not how. In fact, I was looking for you and I called you, Chair, to say, where are you, Chair? And you were still at home. But I think it was so nerve-wracking that weekend because it was live on TV, but that's not an excuse. But
I was thinking the same, Minister, but then the committee get together and they said, no, they are not recognizing us because we are calling them in because of SAIDs.
No. But I just want to say my sincerest apologies, but I will make sure that never happens, and if it happens the next time, it's on me as the Minister. So I want to apologize for that because that's no way.
The strategy of the committee was, should there be no satisfaction today, we would have definitely called in the state law advisor. We would have called in the former minister because we have that right. We have that right to do so. Like Friday, we have called in role players, a number of them, and I'm happy that you, Minister, have made yourself, because it's a very contentious issue, the MGE, very contentious issue, and we are aware what is going on. This committee, even as Parliament, we even pay for those delegations to come here. So, and we have done so today in some instances. That is just the way how we serious want to send out the message out there, how important oversight is. Honourable Nkosi?
No, Chair, it's fine. I thought that the Minister will also apologize for the treatment that you got in Rustenburg, but nevertheless, I think he will talk with his officials that
he did
in future. He did say, yes. Or if he said that, it's fine. But he must speak to his officials. Really, they must take members of the portfolio committee very serious and respect
the Minister
them.
was just talking very soft when he apologized.
Yeah.
Honourable members, let me wrap it up in this fashion. We are going to meet as soon as possible. There was a possible indication for the 16th of September, and Athletic South Africa is not available. So it might be that date subject to what is happening between the President and the ministers. On the 16th. So we might have the Minister, but I'm going to ask members to stay behind so that we can meet on the way forward on this particular issue. The Minister has also mentioned an important factor, and I want the committee also to make sure about the accreditation of the firm that has been mentioned. We would like to also perhaps consider to have the state law advisor and others. If Dr. Kumalo, if you have perhaps any other individual that you feel deemed necessary to be present and part of this meeting, I think we should consider it as a committee. But we must meet as soon as possible. Be as it may, we will, after all the information, we will structure how we're going to have that meeting, with or without the minister, the ministry, with the state law advisor, or whatever the case may be. With that said, Honourable Member, your input says the present and the past. Thank you for coming. We appreciate your input. It was worth it listening to you, and also to send the message out there to the country that yes, we mean business and we want transparency, we want accountability as far as developments in some of our entities is concerned. The Minister, with his busy schedule, he needs much more advisors and secretaries to just remind him that there is a meeting of the Portfolio Committee. Not to remember on the flight he must come to the meeting, as what happened today. But we would like to say thank you to the Minister for making himself available as well. Members, your input and your interrogation and the fact that you're not taking it personal, Honourable Mtetwa, even if the Minister said that you want to settle old scores. I want to appreciate you. The staff, I will never leave the staff behind. I will always make sure and fight for them to get tickets, to also be present, because they means a lot. They means a lot to this Portfolio Committee, their input, their research. I would like to thank each and everyone that was present here today. And good luck, and we will inform everyone. I declare this meeting then closed.
Thank you, Honorable Bulletari.